There's a moment at the end of a story when you close the final page and something lingers. Not always loudly, not always in a way you can easily explain, just something that stays with you. And maybe in that moment you think, I should leave a review. But almost just as quickly, another thought follows. What would I even say? Hi friends, welcome back to Author Notes. I'm Tanya E Williams. Today, I want to talk about something that many readers think about but often put off, leaving a book review. Not because you didn't enjoy a story, but because finding the words can feel harder than it should. If you've ever wondered how to write a book review, you're not alone, because writing a book review can feel like it comes with a certain kind of pressure to say something thoughtful, to say something meaningful, to say something that sounds, well, like a proper review. And when you're busy, when your days are already full, it becomes one more thing to think about. So instead, it gets set aside, not intentionally, but quietly. But here's something I've come to believe. A book review isn't about sounding impressive. It isn't about analyzing every detail of a story, and it isn't about getting it right. At its heart, a book review is simply a reader saying, this is how the story felt to me. And if you can say, even in the simplest way, I loved it, you're already begun. Because what many readers don't always realize is this: a book review matters more than you might think. Yes, it definitely helps other readers discover a story. But just as importantly, it tells an author that something they created reached someone, that a character connected, that a moment stayed, that the story didn't simply pass through, it lingered. And often, it's the simplest reviews that carry that message most clearly. In fact, there's something interesting about book reviews that might surprise you. Some of the most impactful ones are only a few sentences long. So, if you've ever sat down to write a review and felt unsure where to begin, you might think of it this way. Just 3 simple thoughts. What drew you into the story? How did it make you feel? And who do you think might enjoy it? That's it. No structure to memorize, no rules to follow, just a reflection of your experience as a reader. Because your review doesn't need to be long, it doesn't need to be detailed, and it doesn't need to sound like anyone else. It only needs to be honest, a few lines written in your own words about a story that stayed with you. And if I can share one thing from the author's side of the page, it's this: those few lines matter more than you might think. Because writing a novel takes months, sometimes years. And once it's out in the world, you don't always know where it lands. So when a reader takes a moment, even a small one, to say, this meant something to me, it's never small on the receiving end. So if there's a book you've read recently, one that stayed with you a little longer than most, this might be your moment. Not to write the perfect review, but simply to share what remained. Because stories don't always end on the final page. Sometimes they continue in the way we pass them along. And sometimes all it takes is a few words to do exactly that. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I'd love to know, have you ever hesitated to leave a book review even when you loved a story? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, happy reading. Because stories don't always end on the final page. Sometimes they continue in a way. Same line, same screw up.